everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Human Experience, a place where anyone can talk about anything. I'm your host, Caillou Rivera, and today we have the wonderful Kezia Fong.
Good, hi.
Hi. How are you doing today, Kezia?
I'm doing great.
Well, can I call you Kez, first of all?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
easy?
what everybody
Yeah,
calls me in
okay,
this
thank you,
lifetime.
thank you. It's a
Yes.
lot easier for me. But
Yes.
Kez, I know in a lot of places, a lot of shows, a lot of people like to introduce their guests, but I'd like for you to introduce yourself in the way that you feel most comfortable doing so. So whatever, however much or however little you'd like to tell the people about you, go for it.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kezia Fong, but most people just call me Kez. To introduce myself, I feel like I'm just a girl in college pursuing a career in biology. So, yeah, struggles, lifetimes, happiness, sadness. Just a girl trying to live. So, yeah, that's me. I'm Kez.
Literally just a girl.
Yeah, just a girl.
Just a girl. And you can't be blamed for that.
I'm just a girl.
So thank you for that. And what did you want to come on here and talk about today? What is your topic?
You know,
The sigh.
I feel like life is a thing. And I feel like everybody grows up differently. And I feel like for me, the one thing that has affected me as a person, personality wise, like how I just approach things, is religion. So today we're going to talk about my religious trauma.
Religious trauma.
Yes.
Okay. I do want to preface this. I'm very unfamiliar with religion. I really grew up in a place where my family wasn't religious at all, but they do believe in God. So I apologize if I ask any questions that may sound stupid.
That's okay.
Just
It's
because
okay.
I am trying to learn, and I hope that you can teach me and the audience something today.
I hope we all can learn something.
So what is religious trauma? Like obviously, we think of trauma and it's related to religion, but how is one traumatized from religion?
I think it depends on how it was brought up to you as a child. The way it was brought up to me, it was just like in the family, we always go to church on Sundays. It wasn't like an option. It wasn't a question. You could even say, oh my God, I don't want to go. 'Cause it's like, what do you mean you don't want to go? But I think religious trauma, it varies. Trauma itself varies between people, but especially religious trauma, because not everybody grows up in the same household. Not everybody like practices religion the same. Like, we can all be Christians, but I'm telling you right now, your Christian household will be definitely different than my Christian household, different than somebody else's Christian household. So yeah, it's just, it varies, but I think the way it's brought upon you is what really solidifies if it's like a great experience or a terrible experience.
So just subjective experiences and the way those ideals are presented to you. I didn't ask before, and sorry for that, but you implied you do practice Christianity, right?
The question is hard to answer now.
Oh, okay.
It is something I practice at home because I live in a Christian household. I have to accept that. Do I practice it outside of home? Especially when I'm at school? Not really. Like, this is going to be disappointing if my mom ever sees this. I don't go to church when I'm at school. I only go to church when I'm home, just so it like appeases my mother. So it's like, not really, but yes.
And so do you think people would view you as like, and I don't know if this is how people would view it, but do you think people would view you as like less Christian, or like, oh, you're not a
Of
real
course.
Christian?
Yeah, of course.
Like, is there like a levels to it? Like, oh, you're not Christian enough if you don't do this.
It's more like the one thing I got from like going to church is like, yeah, they always preach how you're not a real Christian if you're gonna go out partying on Saturday and then come to church and say amen the next day. It's like,
I've heard that.
you cannot pick Jesus one day and say, nah, I don't need you today, But I think it's weird, but I'm gonna say no. Like, I know a lot of people will be like, you're not Christian. It's like, but it's like, I don't really know what I am. So it's like, you can say that to me. If an adult came to me and be like, you young lady, you are a shitty example of what a Christian is, I'm like, okay, like I don't even know if I'm Christian for real. So like, it's like, is this an insult? Is this like something I should care about? So it's like I don't. Yeah, people will judge me, but I don't really care.
Okay. So let's get into how sort of this practicing of Christianity. How does that like manifest into trauma? Where does that really come from?
I think it's a lot of terrible experiences growing up, especially at a young age. You know, you do certain activities, you try to associate them with like a good thing or a bad thing. For me, waking up, I used to fear getting up on a Sunday because it's like I really don't want to go to church. Like, why are you forcing me to spend 6 hours of my life stuck in this building with people who willingly would hit me if I like don't stand up or if I don't put my head down or if I don't close my eyes. I'm fucking 9 years old. Like, you brought me to a place I don't want to be. Why do you think I would be happy to be sitting here for the next 6 hours?
So do you think in that sense, and maybe this is an extreme line of thinking, but do you think like as a child, like is it kind of just not, I wouldn't say forced upon you, but are you kind of just like conditioned into it? Because it's like, I would assume a lot of kids don't like to go to church because it's like you gotta sit. I assume you have to be quiet. I assume it's like it's like a classroom, but like probably worse because you're not having as much fun as you could be in a classroom.
Also, I just don't understand what the fuck they're saying half of the time.
And that too, right? So it's like you're reading. Do they read Bible scriptures? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like you could. The thing about the Bible is I could read it. There's certain verses I understand mainly because like I've grown up reading them, and there's other things like I really there was a point in my life where I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna devote myself to God. You know, I genuinely was ready, and I was reading the Bible. I'm just sitting here like I don't understand what's going on. Like, yes, these are words, but it's just like the story that's being told makes absolutely no sense to me, and it's just like I feel like if I was really gonna devote myself, I would have to like sit here and try to understand it. But it's like I feel like I was forcing myself to do that, so I stopped. So it's like I don't I don't know.
So when you talk about like terrible experiences, and we talk about how religion plays into that, and how that kind of made you into a certain like feel a certain way about Christianity.
Mhm.
Um, is it the religion itself, or do you think it's like that brings those terrible experiences, or is it the people in it that kind of like make it the way it is
I think
for you?
for me, it's honestly both because there's always talk about how like the people there's always whenever I tell people about how like I'm struggling with like Christianity, I really don't understand how like you guys devote yourself to this. They're like, you just have to find your own relationship with God and it's like with Jesus, and I'm like, I get that, but it's also like sometimes I can't separate the like experience that I've lived from like the actual religion, because people are like don't like compare the religion to like what you've experienced here, because it's like obviously like some people celebrate it differently, some people like do it differently, and it's like I'm trying to do that, but it's like how am I gonna forget the literal like 12 years of my life I was like dragged out of bed to go to church, sitting there listening to them preach things that I honestly just don't agree with, like why do you care so much for like certain stuff, and it's like I'm not having a good time. Like, why would I spend hours of my life doing something that I don't really enjoy? you know? And it's like, I can try to separate the religion and the actual, like, aspect of building a relationship with Jesus yourself. But I feel like, no, like, I don't want, it's like, not that I don't want to, because I feel like that makes me sound like, ugh, like, why would I, but it's more like, I don't want to force myself to do something I'm not really interested in. Because when I was in that like period of my life where I wanted to like find like my relationship with Jesus, it was like over the summer. I would like feel bad if I forgot to like pray in the morning. I would feel bad if I like didn't read the Bible, or like I feel bad if I ate before I prayed. And it's like
A religious guilt of sorts.
yeah, it's like
Interesting.
and it's like because I'm not used to like doing it, it's like okay, but why should I feel bad about doing all of that when I can just eat and wake up and just do whatever? Cuz like my mom she'll like tell me, she'll text me like, "Good morning." I'm like, "Good morning." She's like, "Did you read your Bible before you woke?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I forgot." And she'll be like, "But you cannot forget." You know, it's like, whoops.
So does that guilt actually push you away from it? You think?
It did. It
It did?
definitely did. Like, I think I woke up one morning and I was like, I'm forcing myself to do this at this point. Like, I don't want to keep doing it. It's like not something that I actually want to do.
Yeah, I definitely can understand or resonate with at least that part of just like kind of just forcing yourself to do things, and then you just kind of come one day and you're like, why the fuck am I doing this?
Like,
Right?
why,
Why am I
literally?
doing this?
It's not something I want to do.
Yeah, so it's like then I can tell kind of coming to terms with that, but also having to deal with growing up with it, being conditioned into that. So it's definitely sounds like you've had internal struggle between those two ideals.
Yeah.
And then I did want to kind of segue into something because I do know you personally as a person, and so I know that you identify as you are bisexual, right?
Yes. But right now, I'm like, I'm still gay. Like, but
Okay,
it's
you're
like
still gay. Okay,
I'm
okay.
just labeling myself as queer for now
Okay.
because I really don't know what I am anymore. But it's like definitely not straight.
So queer.
Yeah, you can just say queer for now.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
fine, yeah.
alright.
That's actually you're the first one I told. Like, this is something I've been thinking about. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I was just like I wanted to make sure, but I also I wanted to ask about kind of because obviously we know people, even surface level people who know nothing about Christianity knows that it is a sin or seen as a sin
Mhm.
to not be straight.
Mhm.
And so I would love to know if you're comfortable sharing how kind of that dealing with that growing up because well firstly when did you realize you were not straight?
I started questioning myself sophomore year of high school. Was it sophomore year? Actually, I think it was before that. God, I had my first girlfriend in middle school. But like the funniest part about that is like she asked me out. First of all, this is middle school, so we're children. But she asked me out, and I was just like, sure. Like, why fucking not? Fucking be ball. Like, that was literally me. Mind you, I didn't know if I was attracted to this girl. I didn't know if I actually liked this girl. I was just like, fuck it.
Why not?
You're the first girl that, like, it's never something I thought about. And then it's like, as I grew up more, of me, of course, her, we broke up like a week later. It wasn't serious. But, like, as I grew up more, I'm, like, finding myself being attracted to, like, literally anybody. Like, if I think you're, like, at least, like, if I like your personality and you're a fucking girl, fuck it.
Why
You're
not?
hot as fuck. Like, and it's like, I've had, like, major crushes on girls, and it's just, like, it's just something I knew I never was straight, but it's like I never solidified that until like probably like junior year of high school. Like I'm like, damn, I don't think I'm straight, you know?
So, and then to that end, how did you feel? Because I could have, in my head, like I would think maybe you felt somewhat liberated in a sense, but also like with the part of being being Christian. How did you feel with that? Like, were you kind of like fighting? Like, was there like kind of the two little demons on each shoulder kind of thing?
The
like
demons were there. They
the
were,
demons were there.
she was right there. She said, "No, the fuck you're not." But yeah, I think I spent literally I think sophomore year. There's a period between sophomore year and junior year, like that area of COVID, where actually no, it was a junior when COVID happened. I mean like, but like going from like sophomore year and then like to the end of junior year before COVID, I remember I really was just like not like I was telling everybody I was straight. Like I wasn't, cause in my head I'm like you can't. And my mom and I would argue about like stupid shit like Chick-fil-A. Like she'll be like Chick-fil-A. These Chick-fil-A people are the people who like Chick-fil-A are mad 'cause they don't open on Sunday. But then it's like the gays that don't respect it. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what did the gays have to do with fucking Chick-fil-A? Like, I get, like, and then we'll argue about like, oh, I'll like tell her like, Mom, I don't want to eat Chick-fil-A anymore because like they support like
Shock therapy and stuff.
yeah, and
yeah.
conservatory, and I'm like, and she's like, why do you care? I'm like, human rights. I mean, I honestly like wouldn't agree with it if I was, because when I was little, I never understood why we cared so much. Like, let these people be. Like, why are they bothering you? And it's like, as I grew up, it still like makes no sense why people really care that fucking much.
I agree.
Like, why do you care what I'm doing in my own fucking house? And it's like, yeah, but But yeah, we just argue about stupid shit, and it's just like I question myself because I'm like, she would never accept it. Like, as a kid, you don't want to like disappoint your parents. You don't. I'm the only fucking child to a single mother. Like, and she's an immigrant. Like,
There was
I
it
can't.
wasn't an option.
There is no fucking option to be like anything your parents don't want you to be, and it's like I definitely did try to stop myself, but it's like
It's not something you choose.
I can't.
Right?
Like
Yeah,
I couldn't.
yeah.
I couldn't. I lost
just
the
is.
battle. Sorry, lost the straightness. It's not there anymore.
So that's you're talking about junior, sophomore, junior year. Is that what you're talking about that? So let's fast forward to a little bit later, or to maybe now. Have you tried to come out to your mother?
Yes. Oh my god.
If you don't mind sharing, how did that go?
Yeah, I came out to her. Damn, when did I can't believe I'm actually forgetting. It was in the summer. It was like June. I was a junior, about to be a senior in high school. So it was like that little transition period, but it was like COVID, so like we hadn't been in school for a while. But me and my mom, we're having a little girls chat, little like, oh my god, mother to a daughter. She's like, oh, there's things I need to tell you when you turn 18. And as a daughter who was an only child, I'm like, I have things to tell you too, girl. Life ain't as it seems.
Shit is not sweet.
It wasn't. And funny thing is, when I said that, one of those was not about my sexuality. Like, I had no intention of telling her, but I mainly said that because I'm like, I lost my virginity at 16, so and she didn't know that. And by the time we were having this conversation, I'm 17. So she's like, what do you mean you have stuff to tell me? I'm like, I feel like I don't tell you everything because, like, I can't tell you everything. There's some certain things I do as a child that I don't think you should know yet. And she's like, no, tell me now. Like, tell me right now. I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I want to wait. And she's like, no, tell me now. So I told her that I wasn't a virgin anymore. Like, I lost my virginity at 16. She's like, okay. She's like, where, with who, da-da-da. I'm like, okay. She looked like pretty good. Like, she was like, okay.
Maybe the other thing will be fine, too.
I didn't even think that. Like, I was just like, okay, she took that fine. A little strange that she took it so well. But right. I'm like, okay. And then she's like, yeah, is there anything else? I'm like, yeah, but I really don't want to tell you right now. Like, I can't. And she's like, no, like, you're not leaving this table till you tell me. And I'm just looking at her. I'm like, I don't think I can. Like, I really don't think I can. And she's just like, no, tell me. Like, tell me. I think we sat in silence for like 5 minutes because I literally was having a panic attack. Like, my heart. I'm sitting at the table. I'm like, like I'm freaking out. And yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm bi. Like, because at that time I was like, I'm bisexual because I only really thought I like girls and boys. She says, no, you're not. And I'm like,
first stage of grief.
Rejection.
Denial,
rejection, everything. I'm like, yeah, she's just saying, no, you're not. No, you're not. I'm like, why are you? She's like, why are you putting labels on yourself? I'm like, she's like, but the thing about it that really like got me, like the reason why I got so heated is because like she starts like walking around the table, banging on the wall, like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And she's like, you can't stop you always put these labels on yourself. And by her saying that, by the way, is talking about me calling myself depressed like 3 months ago, which at the time, guys, I was very suicidal. Oh my God. She thought this whole depression thing was like, I'm depressed.
It's a sham. It doesn't
Mom,
exist.
I'm sad. No, babe. I want to throw that window in my bedroom. There's a reason why I took the railing off, okay?
We're very...
I was gonna do it, but anyways, yeah, like she's like, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like and then I like said like, oh, I don't want to be here right now. And she's like, what do you mean you don't want to be here right now? You're gonna run away? Like, I'm like, I will. Like, that's where it got heated. Like, I will. I have a cousin that lives on the street. I will. And she's like, no, you're not, no, you're not. So I think I got up because I'm like fucking like fed up, pissed off, very heartbroken. By the way, like,
of course,
heartbroken. Like, when I tell you it was heartbroken, I think the whole time she's yelling, I'm just sitting there like, just deadpan red 40W stare. Like, I saw some shit. Like, yeah. And yeah, I went to my room. I remember the way my bed is set up, like I have a little space between a wall. I literally slept in that little crevice because I didn't want her to see me. I didn't want her to like touch me. I didn't want her to be in like the same vicinity as me. So obviously it didn't go well. Um, if you want to update, still not going well actually. We had a talk in the summer because she said some like she said she made a comment about like SpongeBob or some shit. Cause obviously I grew up in a household where I couldn't watch SpongeBob.
Yeah.
I still did. I still did. But yeah, like I grew up in a household that can never watch SpongeBob because they think he's gay.
Yeah.
So yeah, she made a comment about that to my little cousin, who I don't fuck with like putting all this like trauma on like my cousins because I don't want you to go through the same shit I went through. And I hate that I like can't see them as often because I don't drive and they live like 20 minutes from me. So like when she says shit like that, I'm like, don't fucking say that. Like these kids, you're imprinting all this hate speech on them for what? Just so they can like do the same shit you do now and like yell at people. So I'm like, when she said it, I just like, I didn't say anything, but I just got pissed. And then I remember like, it was like an era in my life where I was really like learning how to let out my emotions through writing. So I wrote her a letter. You know the first fucking thing she said to me when she opened the letter?
What?
If you write like this, do you write like this when you submit your homework to your teachers? The fuck? what does that have to do with anything? And she's like, I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, you better learn how to write better. I'll jump out this window right fucking now. Don't play with me. Yeah, but obviously she still doesn't agree with me. Like I had a whole argument about it, and she's like, basically the whole argument's her saying like, I just want you to respect that I don't believe in that, and I'm like, I just simply want you to accept me as a fucking human being. And she's like, but I don't believe in that. Like, I can't accept it. And I'm like, but I'm your child that you birthed.
I don't understand this idea of like being. I don't think you could. I just personal opinion. I don't think you can say I love you to your child if you won't accept them for who they are. I just don't think you love them.
That's literally my whole point of that argument. And she's just like, I just want you to respect that I don't believe in that. But I'm like, what makes you think that you like the whole point is that if you can't like I'm your child, like if I if I had a child, as someone who does not care what form you come in, what you do, as long as it's not killing you, why should I stop you?
Like
if it's something you truly believe believe in, I don't get it, but that's what we argued about.
it's also like this level of you can also just like have an opinion and not like you can your mom cannot like homosexuality or just people not being straight in general and still accept you.
Right, because
Like
I know a
like
lot of parents that do that.
stepping
I know
outside of their own.
I have friends who their parents, they don't accept it, but they still love their child.
And
Like,
support them, yeah.
yeah, they'll support the relationship. Yes, they don't accept it, but like they're not like blatantly disrespectful in their face. And I think my issue with her in that argument is that she would say shit like talk about SpongeBob, talk about like random homophobic shit. Like we always argue about Trump, obviously. So I'm not gonna out her on her political beliefs because that's just not that's not what I'm here for. But like we argue about shit like that, and it's just like the ideals don't line up with the beliefs. They don't at all, actually.
Okay, so when it comes to like other family, how has that gone? Is there anybody else you've came out to? Like, is there any other people? Because I don't know, your family dynamics or how close you are to other people in your family, but has there been anybody who maybe has supported you in your?
No, I don't think any of my other family knows, and if they do, well, they're keeping it a very big secret. I don't think my mom has told anyone actually.
Think she's embarrassed?
Maybe. I also just don't think she's like mentally capable enough to even share that information. Like, I feel like she looks up to she really relies on her family. I feel like I'm speaking to them like they're not my family, but it's also because I don't really know them like that. We don't really like the cousins I do know. We barely see each other, so it's like this family I'm not that connected to. But I feel like even so, that yes, they cherish me because I'm her daughter. But it's like even if they did find out, I don't know how they would react. I feel like the only other person in my life that I think would like affect me if they didn't accept me is like He's like my uncle, but not my uncle because we're not blood related. Um, he's like a father figure, but also not a father figure. Like I really don't care to have a father figure in my life, but like he stepped up to be that man in my life. So it's like I kind of rely on him. I feel like if he ever found out and was like, cause he's also like in the church, he's a deacon, so it's like,
Oh boy.
yeah. And he also makes a lot of comments. Like we'll be driving around and like, cause he works in Newark, so we'll be driving around Newark to like go get something to eat or something, and he'll be like, "That's a man." I'm like, "The fuck? How do you know?" He's like, "The Adam's apple." I'm like, mind you, he's pointing to somebody who's probably most likely trans and saying, "Oh,
presenting
that's,"
as a female or
and
a
he's like,
woman.
"Oh, that's a man." I'm like, okay, like, why do you care? Like, we're literally just driving around. This is fun to you. Yeah, it'll be like small. That's not even small. That's just homophobic. But like, it'll be shit like that, and it's like these are like my red flags of why I don't say anything, or why I literally just go quiet in the car. Like he'll say it, and I'll be like, okay.
So then to that end, it sounds like you've kind of almost isolated yourself from your family. Does it feel lonely
Of
a little bit?
course. I mean, I never knew my family that much before anything. But knowing, like, I sit in my room sometimes and think, wow, I don't have like an aunt that I can go call and be like, hey, you know. I mean, I do. I sometimes blame myself for the relationships I've caused with my family because it's like the phone works both ways. Yes, I don't call them, but it seems like they don't call me. My mom was always like, here's their number. You call them. I'm like, okay, they never call me. But it's also like, I'm just not connected to that side of my family, or just that's the only side I know. So yeah, not that connected. I don't see them that often. So yeah, I do think about like how I can't just call like my grandma and be like, "Hey, grandma, I missed you." You know, I used to hang out with her a lot though, but I just haven't been to New York and or the Bronx in a very very long time.
And I guess just like circling back into your mom, do you think there's ever going to be any salvaging of that relationship there?
It's like I want to, but I have this like bad cycle of like forgiving her, and then we live in like happiness. You know that happiness period? Like you ever watch a movie and you're like, wow, these people are too happy, like something is gonna happen.
Yes.
That's like the period we live in. And it's like I I I like I'm very careful with what I say, with what I do, because I'm like I don't want to start something up. But then it like always starts, she'll say something, like a slick comment, and it'll just remind me that she's actually not supporting me in a way. And then it like brings back all the bad memories, and then I'll like
So is it a happy period, or are you guys just complacent with where you're at? Because it
I've
sounds like it's just like an avoidance thing of
it's
like,
definitely avoidance. Like I don't every time we have like a blowout, we never address it. Like I try to address it, but it always gets dismissed. And then like we'll wake up the next day and act like nothing ever happened. And it's like, okay, so we're gonna live like nothing happened, okay.
a bit of a vicious cycle. Sounds like.
Because okay, last time we had a really bad argument, she was like, I don't want to say she threatened me, but like she yelled at me. She was like she scolded me. She was like, because at that point, like when she made the SpongeBob comment, I just wasn't talking to her. Like I was giving her a silent treatment kind of sort, but it's also just me not wanting to say something I didn't mean. Because when I get like pretty upset, like I would speak without thinking. So like I just wasn't talking to her, and then I remember she came up to me. She was like, "Don't ever like give me silent treatment in my own house. Like we're not gonna live in like like hostility or something like that."
But you created that situation.
Right. And it's like,
Like, hello.
and then I tried to find a way to approach it in a respectful manner by giving her the letter, but the first thing she says is like, "Oh, is this how you write to your teachers?" Like I don't think we're on the same page here. So it's
Oh,
like I can't ever address it fully because I feel like what I say never like it never comes out the way I want to, or she just never understands it the way I want her to. And I remember I talked to a friend. My friend was like, she's like my closest friend, my best friend. She said, "It sounds like you both understand each other, but it's like she's refusing to like actually accept the whole thing because she doesn't want to.
I mean, I feel like the solution's pretty clear cut, and it's not hard, and not in the sense of like, oh, I know everything that goes down, because there's obviously levels to this, right? You're not telling me everything, but
Mhm.
if she didn't care as much as she does about who you are, this wouldn't be as big of an issue as it is.
I feel like I wouldn't be almost fucking 21 and still dealing with the same bullshit when I came
Yeah,
out to her when I was 17.
this has been 4 years of
Four fucking
4 years
years of
of
my
that.
life
It's a lot.
where I went through a period of just like, damn, okay, she doesn't accept me the way I am. I went through a period of like literally rejecting everything girly just to like spite her. Like I wouldn't wear dresses, I wouldn't wear makeup. I didn't even know how to do makeup at the time, so I would just always wear pants. Like that was literally it. Like when we go to church, no dresses, no skirts. Like I also just wasn't comfortable in them at the time. I was having like really bad body image issues, and she wasn't helping that either. So it's like, and then when I did start wearing makeup, she would like praise me for it, and then I'll like not do my makeup for like an entire week because I'm like, why are you praising me doing my makeup? Like, what is the intent behind that?
So how are you now with that kind of stuff? Have you like tempered out with that a bit, or
It's like
like
I'll just be like, okay, whatever. I really don't care anymore. Like she'll say something like, I don't go home that often anyway, but like when I do, and we do like life updates or like anything, she'll like, oh my gosh, she'll say something like in a way that it's like, oh my god, you're doing something that's like good, but also you're straight and you're girly. Like in that pretense, it's one of those topics.
so it's always like she's trying to like say, how do I put it? She's trying to tell you that like what you're doing like it's almost like this form of like conditioning in a
Yeah.
sense, like where
It's
she's
like
like
bring it
trying to
up
like,
just because I want you to be this.
yeah,
Like remember, like she
projection.
has an image of me like she wants for the future. Like she wants me to be married to a man and have a family and kids. And it's like okay. So now every time you bring it up, it's like you're conditioning me to remember that I want you to be this. Actually, like I expect you to be this. And I'll just like take the comment like okay, thanks. Like I really do like this skirt, but now I kind of hate it. But I'm gonna wear it still because I don't care what you think. You
But
know.
you kind of broken free from your mother's projections, I would say, right?
I mean,
So
yeah, being in college, I feel
freedom.
way. Oh my god, I
The
feel
shackles.
so much. The shackles are
The me
like
with the shackles.
the shackles are low key like they're there, but it's just like they're so invisible. I don't see them anymore.
I think it's interesting you say that, and it actually brings me to a question I had in my mind.
Mm.
It sounds like even though you have all of this, trauma coming from your mom and like the way you were kind of forced to go to church, things like that, part of you still seems attached to the religion, and I think that's really interesting, especially seeing how you talk about it like you despise it, but part of you still seems to be clinging onto it. Can you kind of like walk us through that, or walk me through that, and kind of explain why you think you're still part of you still is attached to Christianity?
Um, I remember I was thinking about it like a few months ago because I'm like, I was at a point where I was like, am I Christian or am I not? Like, try to just let it go. And I think it's really hard to let something go when you've been living through it since you were born. Like the first I was christened, like christenings are a thing they do for babies. It's like a baby baptism. So I got my christening was very early. I think I was about like one, not even one. I think I was like 8 months out of the womb, almost 9 months out of the womb. I was a baby. Like I was a newborn. And so imagine from since you're like 8 months old to now. This is something you've been doing your whole life. It's something that's hard to let go. Like the small things, like the prayer before eating, or just thanking God for like anything. Like literally, I'll get through my day, get in my room, like oh thank you God, like I made it back to my room. Like it's something that I've been conditioned, taught, practiced, religiously practiced it because it's literally, and I don't think that's ever gonna leave me. I don't think it's ever gonna. It's the small things, like it's the things I've been doing since I was like 8 months. I think The parts that will leave me are the practices, like going to church, reading the Bible, having a devotion, which is like something you do before you go to sleep and when you as soon as you wake up. Those are the things that I don't get into because it's not something I really enjoy doing. I feel like it's more a task I have to complete before I can like start my day. But I think because I grew up on it for so long, it's gonna be hard to let go of like 100% of the religion. Like I'm never not gonna pray over my food or say thank you God for like helping me pass an exam or pass a test or something. Cause literally, I took an exam the other day. I literally like the test was being passed. I was like, Lord, please help me to understand. Like stuff like that, I will always do because I grew up on it. If I feel like if I lived in a household like some of my other friends from like high school, they will only go to church for like holidays like Easter, Christmas, or like New Year's. That's it. Like they won't go to church as much as I do. And it's like for them, I feel like it's easier to just, it's not like a thing they don't really, you know. But I think for me, the small things will always stay with me. But it's just like, 'cause that's what I grew up on. I was conditioned for that. And it's something I would never let go simply because I don't think I can. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all habits die hard, right? So it's like, I just think that's human nature. Once you're used to something enough, it kind of sticks with you. It's hard to get rid of. So then, so right now, do you still consider yourself Christian, or do you kind of just stick with I'm not really religious?
I don't know. I feel like if somebody were to ask me right now, you just did. But like, I probably would say no. I probably definitely would say no. I think I'm more of just a believer. Like I will always believe that Jesus is real, but I'm never gonna practice the religion. More of just like a more of like a soul, like a moral compass or like a thing, a thought. Like Jesus is real. Like God is there. I believe in the whole like God Jesus thing. Like all of it, even though like science, but
Even though like science,
but like
as a STEM major,
I am a STEM major.
as a STEM major.
The odd thing is, I think this is actually really funny, and I love explaining it to people. I always connect science to religion. Like, if you were to ask me outside of the classroom, like, Kez, explain the Big Bang, right? And like connect it to the Bible. In the Bible, in literally the book of Genesis, it says God says, "Let there be light." In science, the Big Bang is literally just a thing that happened. It's described as bright. It's described as like big, like fanatic, just like it just happened. If I connect that to the Bible, it's like God said, "Let there be light." The Big Bang.
The God created the Big Bang.
Well, like it initiated it. Like
Okay.
science, I feel like science puts names to things they don't understand, and religion does the same thing. Like you want to know how the universe started? Science says the Big Bang. Religion says God says let there be light.
They're essentially the same thing.
Yeah,
actually.
exactly.
They're quite literally the same thing because we in science we don't know how the Big Bang started.
Exactly. That's
So we just
it's
say
like a theory.
there was light.
Exactly. They're just like the Big Bang.
It's instead of God saying let there be light, the scientists said let there be light, and there was a Big Bang.
Exactly.
So I think that's a great point that you bring up for sure. And then I also wanted to ask, just because of the way you talk about kind of like believing but not being there. Do you think like the trauma like you went through? Do you think like a lot of other people go through similar traumas, especially because we have a growing number of people who are identifying as LGBTQ plus? Do you think that has any correlation to this statistic I saw of the number of people identifying as Christian dropping by quite a bit? Do you think that's linked?
I think it's more of the people in my generation who grew up in the church are starting to leave the church.
Oh yeah, Gen Z. Wonderful.
But this is something my church has always talked about because my pastor's he has daughters and they grew up around a lot of like people who would go to church with them too, and they all left it. Not all of them, but most of them left the church. And it's like, I think college and just leaving home is why a lot of people just never go back to the church, because you find a life where you're like, wow, like I don't have to get up on a Sunday to go to church. But it's also just people are realizing this is not for them. When you grow up on it, you're forced to do it. This is not a choice you make. And yes, like as you grow up, the church gives you a choice to like keep coming back and like devoting yourself to it. But some people just don't want to, and they just leave because they have a choice to leave now. Like when you're an adult, who is to stop you from saying, I actually don't want to do this anymore? And I think people are just leaving. Like generally, people like me who grew up on it, sometimes they don't turn back. Like I only turn back because I go home and I want to respect my mom by going to church. But some people don't go back. Some people don't even go home. Like
Some people just never come back.
they never speak to their parents again. They leave that all behind. And then those parents realize like, wow, I think I fucked up.
But then by the time they realize it's too late.
It's too fucking late.
The damage is already done.
And you know, the damage is done for me, but I just feel like because I didn't per se leave home. Like I still live at home, but it's like I haven't been home since New Year's. Like I talk to my mom here and there, but it's like I think because we still have that connection as like I didn't like physically tell her like, yeah, I don't ever want to see you again. Like I've never said that. But I think other people might have, and that's why they leave it completely behind. So yeah, the number is gonna drop. People are leaving. People are feeling this is not for me. This shit has caused me pain and torture, countless hours of just doing shit I didn't enjoy. I'm not coming back. That's what people are saying, and that's why it's dropping. And I don't. There are churches out there that do accept like people who are LGBTQ and like all this stuff. There's churches out there, but there's not as many as there are regular churches. So people are not finding the resource they need. So it's like
an accessibility issue.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
And a lot of churches are still very old school.
No,
there's new school churches are not common. Like right now, they may become common in a couple years. But at that point, a lot of people who left are never going back.
So you think it might be too late? It might be a bit of a collapse?
I think it's too late. I mean, there's a generation out there that do believe in it, like, and they praise it. Like, I know people who go to church and, like, believe in God. Like, it's so complicated. Like, I believe in God, but I'll never do the religion. And I think it differs for everybody, you know? So
Hard question?
It is a hard question.
I just saw
Sorry.
No, yeah, just doing some, because I was interested because I had heard religion numbers being that were dropping, and I was like, oh well, that kind of makes sense. Gen Z is a real pioneering generation. We have very interesting thought processes behind everything.
Very interesting thought process.
Some good.
I
think it should be. I think it should be a push for the ideals because I think. For me, when I look at Christianity, just from the outside as somebody who doesn't, who's very neutral, I think it's less about the actual idea of Christianity itself and more about the people who actually, project the ideals, right? I think it's the people who are spreading these messages the wrong way. That's what's kind of making people think Christianity is a certain way. I feel like Christianity itself can be great.
Oh, it could be, but I think
structurally
we're in a time period. Well, there used to be. I remember. I think it was No, it wasn't last year. There was a time period though, where everybody was shitting on Christianity. I don't know what time period this was. It was just like a couple months.
Definitely was like 20. It was probably the pandemic.
It was definitely during the pandemic.
It was definitely
I remember everybody was shitting on Christianity.
Nobody had time. Everybody had time.
Like right, exactly. And I just remember like living through that and like wow. There's good facts from both sides, but what I realized from the Christianity side, they're not realizing that it's very hard to separate the people from the religion.
Yes.
Because the people are so fucking loud. Like,
yeah.
Why are you guys so fucking loud?
But that's like everything that's bad though. It's like the bad will always be louder than the good. The very quiet good and then the very loud bad.
Exactly.
And usually, and sometimes there's even more good than bad. It's just that the bad is way louder, so it looks like the bad is worse.
And I don't even know if there's more good or bad in the Christianity department, but I just know the bad are so fucking loud.
And bad.
And
the bad is very
horrible.
Bad. It's horrible.
They're horrible. They're not even like tolerable. Like I can't even just if you're a fucking like racist, I'm like get the fuck out of my face. You know, I would ignore you. You're not even there. But these people, they would do shit that just doesn't make sense. Like why are you supporting taking away reproductive rights? You're literally a woman, first of all. and you're Christian. And it's like, yeah, haha. I hate when they use the word for something bad. I hate it. Like these people who support stripping away women's rights, they will use like the word like the Bible says like, oh, you can't kill life, like you're a murderer, like you're a sinner now. We're all sinners first of all, but like
yeah, literally, literally, people sin every single day.
exactly.
I never understood I love that you said that. I never understood this idea of oh, if you're gay or you're this or you're that, you're constantly in sin. But then they go and they have sex later that night and they're not married. First of all, isn't marrying before marriage, like marrying before having sex before marriage? It's called
If you
wedlock.
think about it in general, me even being here is a sin because my mother is not married.
So it's like,
so it's like, what am I, a product of sin? Aren't we all?
We
sinners?
all are.
We're all sin. Yeah, yeah.
We're all products of sin. Do you know how many people have kids after they're married?
Exactly.
Probably not that much if I checked, to be honest. So it's like, I love this. Like, the thing I see in religion a lot is just like this moving of goalposts, right? So it's like they use arguments when it benefits them, but then it doesn't work if it's against them. It's never okay if it's against them.
And then the LGBTQ one, that one pisses me off because that has been debunked so much.
First of all, there's like 8 million different contexts and versions of the Bible to where that line specifically doesn't even refer to homosexuality.
Refers to pedophilia.
Yeah, it refers to pedophilia.
Yeah.
So it's like
which is really sad also because in the Catholic Church, I think this happens a lot, but the pastor, the pope, but
the Catholic. First of all, I'm not religious, but my family was Catholic, so I did find out about the Catholic Church, and I thought
it's a story.
Catholicism is really not great.
It's a thing.
Catholicism is not cool. I went to church one time in my life, and it wasn't really church. I went to a Jehovah's Witness hall.
Oh.
Yeah. And I just want to kind of briefly unpack that because it was a little traumatic for me.
Oh.
It wasn't really traumatic, but it was very, and I mean this to, if anybody who's watching this Jehovah's Witness, I mean this in no offensive way.
No offensive way.
In no offensive way.
Sorry.
But it was very culty. And I'll say because this whole, and I don't know if every church is like this, but this whole droning, repeating thing was really weird to me.
Like
Everybody was
what were they like?
Robots. It was like,
what were they saying?
It was, I don't remember. It was some Bible stuff that they were saying. But it was like, but they call God Jehovah, which I know is a name that they go by, right?
Yeah.
Or Jesus, I don't know.
There's so many different names.
So
Depending on what part of the what religion.
There was just a lot of repeating and like answering questions, and it was like one of those things you watch on TV.
A lot of people, I know a lot of outsiders don't understand the point of offering, which is like the giving money process.
I mean, I get it. I don't think it makes zero sense to me because the churches don't get taxed at all.
Exactly.
So that's super interesting because no place that actually gets taxed does that. But you have a church who doesn't get taxed at all and offers money. But what do I know? I mean, I don't know.
That was also a big thing with me and my mom, the money thing.
Because where does the money technically actually go?
It's not even that. It's being forced to give. Like,
are you forced to give?
Technically, they tried it. Like, when I go to church now, my mom would be like, give offering, or like she'll like give me like $2 to give. But I remember the last time I went, because now that I'm getting paid, she's like, okay, you have to like. She's been saying this since I started getting paid, but she's like, you have to give 10% of your check to the church.
Okay.
And I noticed
Hello?
some people that's like, what the fuck? First of all, my check, like, yeah.
But 10% is a little excessive. Like,
but here, yeah, no, like I remember, it was like literally, I think like last semester I went home and we were going to church and she's like, it was offering time, and I'm like, I'm looking at my wallet, I only have like $2 in cash. Like, I think I found a $5 bill in there, and she's like, that's all you're giving? And I'm like, I don't have anything else. Like, what do you want me to give? She's like, you have to give, like, you have to like make sure you do offering and like stuff like that. And I'm like, but I don't have anything right now. I'm giving what I can at least. And I remember we just went back and forth because it's like in my head, I'm like, okay, you want me to give more, but I don't have more. Like, are you going to give me more money to give? And it's like I get like supporting the church because you go to it, but don't force me to give when I don't have anything. And I think a lot of people are also pressured to give when they don't have anything either.
Which is terrible, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Some people just aren't as fortunate as others to just give
Exactly.
money to some. With all due respect, something that we don't know where it's exactly going to. I don't know where they say it goes to, but how can we take? At least in America, for me, I very much try not to take anybody's word as to where money's going when I'm donating to a cause. Because every time I try to, I'm like, maybe I should donate to this cause, and it winds up getting it winds up getting it gets embezzled, and then somebody's like $10 million richer, and,
And
like,
that's also a controversy that like once in a I think like once in a blue moon it'll pop up like, oh, this pastor has been using the money that he's getting from offering to like buy him like luxurious shit and like a price. There was literally, I think, I don't want to say this exact fact, but I remember like a long time ago when I was still like at home during COVID, this one like pastor, he got like they started questioning him because he brought a private jet.
Yeah, where are you getting a private jet
Where
from?
the
What
fuck
is a
did you
pastor's
get
first
the
of all?
money?
What is a pastor's salary to be getting a private
Exactly, and I don't remember if it was a private jet or the fact that he just wore Gucci a lot. It was one of those. It was
Nothing.
just basically he had too much luxurious shit, and that like the church's condition wasn't reflecting like the money that he was using, and he
Yeah.
was basically stealing money from the church. So it's like stuff like that. It's like, but that's like I can't blame that because shit like that happens everywhere. Like real world shit, like a boss could steal money from his employees. It's kind of like the same thing in a way, but it just looks shitty on the Christianity part.
No, yeah, for sure. So I have one more question before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Uh, what would you say to people who are, Gen Z, not just Gen Z, but
Generation Z.
just
Okay.
yeah, Generation Z,
Z. Z.
who kind of experience the same thing you're going through? Well, how would you suggest they navigate that? Because I can, from what you've been talking about, it sounds like it'd be really difficult to navigate. It can be isolating.
Mhm.
It can feel a lot of different ways, and I'm sure that you've had to deal with, you know, it follows you.
Mhm.
Like, that's not just something that you just kind of deal with and then it's over. It follows you. It goes in. It bleeds into different parts of your life because religion is, for a lot of people, such a big part of their identity,
Mhm.
and determines how they grow. So I would say, how would you suggest people navigate this kind of situation where they don't feel accepted, but they also have to deal with, the eyes of religion? You can call it the eyes of God if you want.
The eyes of God.
The judgment of God.
I think it's best to figure out if you want it or not first. Like, if you really want to devote yourself to it, I think you have to figure that out early. Not early, but like early enough where it doesn't start like destroying you. I think one thing for me, I found out early, but I didn't know how to execute the process of leaving. And I think no, thank God for college. I thank God for college because it gave me a chance to step away from that environment and like realize like this is not for me. Like this has actually been destroying me and eating at me. And I think once you figure out if it's like if yes it's for me or if it's no it's not for me, then it's the process of accepting that and then actually trying to figure out like, okay, what am I gonna do next? Like, if it's not for you, are you gonna leave? Are you just gonna tough it out and like act like it's for you? Are you gonna like try to seek out like help like mentally or something, like stuff like that? Or if you're gonna stay, like, are you really gonna devote to it? Are you gonna like? And if I think the whole point of it is to not feel bad for any decision you make. I think one thing that I remember is that I kept eating at myself when I was actually devoting myself to it. Like, 'cause you have to read your Bible. Like, you're not doing what a Christian should do. Like, I feel like if you're not going about it in a positive way, it's never gonna be good. Like, you cannot go in it and start eating at yourself. Like, you have to pray. Like, you're not going to church. Like, what you're doing right now is like sinful. You can't eat at yourself like that, because if you just because if you do, you're never gonna like have a good time. And I think also just knowing like don't ever force yourself don't ever force yourself to do something you don't want to, because if you do, you're forcing yourself to do something you don't want. And it literally sounds like, why the fuck would you ever do something you don't want to do? But it's like people are pressured to do things they don't want to do
But
every day.
Don't be a people pleaser.
Exactly. And it's like, don't. Yes, your parents are probably like the best thing in the world for you, or like your friends who support it are like probably the best people in the world for you. But if they can't accept the fact that this is not for you, then I don't think they're really the people to have in your life to support you. Like,
That's some real shit right there.
because
That's some real shit.
I feel like I'm friends with so many people of different religions, and we all accept each other for who we are. Like, yes, our beliefs are different. Yes, we all not might celebrate it the same, but we're all human at the end of the day. We're all not going to be the same. And if you can't support somebody through that, then I don't think you should probably get rid of these people in your life and also leave.
And also leave.
Fucking dip. If I didn't have college, you guys, I don't know where I would be right now, actually. I don't know if I would be. Let me not be. I don't.
You could be blunt.
Because, like, people say, wow, I made it past 18. Y'all, I really made it past 18. It's kind of crazy. So it's like, getting away for me was really the top thing. But also just making that decision, like, this is not for me. I think people realize too late that it's not for them, and they've spent their whole lives doing something they don't want to do because they're pressured to do it. So, yeah. I think that's my answer.
I mean, I really like that. I think the idea of, being able to step away when you feel like something's not right and kind of just, like, doing an internal check.
Yeah.
And doing, like, this soul-searching of what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
And how does that relate to the wants of people around me? And can we all be on the same page? If we can, great. If we can't, then, as you said, then I think I got to get the fuck out of here.
I gotta get the fuck out of
Get
here.
the fuck out of here.
Because respectfully, y'all, in general, I've lost a lot of, not lost like death. I mean, yeah, but like I've like let people go because it's like, I don't think we're on the same path anymore, like regular wise, but also just like in general, like don't keep people in your lives who are draining you. That's the one thing. And yeah, shout out to everybody. Just learn yourself. Healing. Me time.
Are you healing? Are you
Still
trying to?
I'm gonna say that I am still healing. I've gotten off track and then I got back on track and then the healing process is always if this is the end, this is the start. You'll be here. You'll be like, yeah, I'm doing good. Oh, no. Yeah. So
sometimes you take 2 steps forward and go 3 steps back. And
yeah.
then sometimes you take 3 steps forward, you go 1 step back.
Yeah.
And,
so
it is a journey, and it's never a straight line, right? It's never linear.
Mm-mm.
But thank you so much, Kez, for sharing some great insight on religion. I
Thank
definitely
you.
learned a lot today. I hope you guys learned a lot today. I appreciate you being the first guest on my show.
Yeah,
Means a lot
because
to me.
we've been talking we were like, is
Um,
this too deep for the first guest?
Is this
I was like, I don't know, is it too deep?
for the first
know.
episode? This is what we're getting into. But no, I think you were wonderful, and I think you had a lot to share, and I thought that you were very, very, very vulnerable, and so
Thank you.
very much appreciate you
Thank
having
you.
me here. Thank you guys for tuning in. I can't wait to see you guys for episode 2 of the Human Experience.
Yes.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.